Berserk is back, baby, and it couldn't have returned in better fashion. Chapter 377 was pretty exposition heavy for the first, 20 pages, but it managed to turn everything around in the last half dozen. Spoiler alert, but what was looking like a rather standard military conference turned into an all-out national emergency when, from the back of one of the Kushan generals, emerged the greatest threat to the Empire, the Apostle Rakshas. We thought he was dead, but turns out he was only playing dead, waiting for the best moment to strike. The moment is now, the place is the Kushan heartland, and his target is the entire Kurultai Council. He's already taken out one of them in the form of the northern clan leader, whose body he was seemingly possessing, so what's his next move? What will we see in the next chapter of Berserk? We're here to give you our predictions for it, so without further ado, let's dive right into it. The Bakiraka Prince and the Wizard General versus an old foe. Ever since he was shot out of the sky with a medieval RPG by the main man, Big Rick, we've been wondering, whatever happened to Rakshas? He's one of the most unique apostles in that he can actually control his anatomy down to his vital organs. He shifts them around quite frequently when in a fight because it helps him protect himself and misdirect the enemy at the same time, but that wasn't really effective against the team of Rickert, Salat, the Tapasa, and Daiba. Back in chapter 337, Rickert landed the slap heard around the world squarely on Griffith's cheek. Whether it was a command or the total disrespect that he showed to his master, this spurred Rakshas into action, and in the next chapter, he tries to assassinate Big Rick. Lucky for him, he's got a guardian angel, or rather 5 to be precise. Salat was on an undercover mission to ascertain what Griffith's position was in this new world, and when he saw Rickert land that slap where several of his men had failed to even touch Griffith, he knew the boy had some kind of secret. That secret hasn't been addressed in the series as of yet, but it's probably the fact that Rickert has moved on from his life as a mercenary and is therefore out of Griffith's control, allowing him to tangibly affect the latter's life. He didn't witness the dream about the Falcon of Light, at least not so far as we know. He came to Falconia because he heard it was the only safe place in the world. Then, he found out that the same monsters that had killed his friends were now defending humanity, and he just couldn't bring himself to live in such a place. Rickert decided to leave to honor the memory of his dead brothers in arms, but before he could do that, he had to deal with an assassin. It still isn't clear whether Griffith personally sent Rakshas after Rickert, or if it was Locus who was pissed by his rejection, but either way, the Search and Destroy unit leader was rather keen on getting the job done. Rakshas was a Bakiraka before he was an apostle, so killing was right up his alley. He was exiled from the clan of assassins because he liked toying with his targets a bit too much for their tastes. It's an ideological victory for Salat when he is able to hold off a demon with the body of a shape-shifting rag with nothing but pure skill, because Rakshas is liable to do everything in his power to kill his target, even things that are banned by the Bakiraka. He survived getting blasted with a flamethrower by dousing himself in horse blood, and then tried to do the same to Erica when it didn't entirely work. If Daiba hadn't been there to control snakes that bit him into temporary paralysis, he'd have succeeded, but that only held him back for a few moments. As soon as the group mounted Daiba's Garudas, Rakshas started chasing them by changing his body into a form that enabled flight, but that's when Rickert introduced him to a missile. In the first chapter of Berserk, Guts one-shot killed the female apostle by feeding her a cannon shot. Though Rakshas is clearly a rank above her in terms of pure strength, a missile is also stronger than cannon fire, and we were sure that he was tumbling to his death when we last saw him headed towards a few buildings. Turns out he survived and traveled all the way back to his homeland just to further his goal of murdering some guy. There's a bit of a catch to his mission, which is the fact that Rakshas appears to still be injured from the missile. His emergence depicts his falcon mask half broken with blood dripping out of both of his masks. This blood could just belong to the northern clan leader, but something tells us it's Rakshas's. And that makes a lot of sense considering the amount of time it would take for him to recuperate from such a blow. Griffith must have sent him out immediately after Rickert's crew escaped because he knew neutralizing the East would be essential for his plan for world domination. Right now, he's only taken one head off the Kushan Hydra, but his efforts might just get stymied right there. There are dozens of well-trained, battle-experienced soldiers and generals in the Kurultai Hall right now. They're ready to face whatever danger is headed their way, and though Rakshas has the element of surprise, he blew it trying to get Salat banned from the conference. Now, he's out in the open, and in his immediate vicinity are a bunch of Kurultai members and Kushan killers just waiting to apprehend him. Let's also not forget that Salat is extremely close to the new emperor, and given the fact that he forced a stalemate with Rakshas the last time they met, it's safe to say that there might not be a second Kushan power vacuum. The chairman's survival is of paramount importance, and that will be covered by Salat and his men. The initial resistance against Rakshas will probably involve the general that spoke up for Salat in the last chapter, and Sir Roderick of Ith. Roddy might not have fought an apostle in his travels with Guts, but he has faced monsters that are nearly as dangerous as them. This will be his first fight against an actual demon, and we wouldn't count him out on account of his inexperience. Roderick is a quick thinker and a better fighter. When Ganishka attacked Britannis with his Pishacha, he was the only one who adapted on the fly and used a silver candelabra as a weapon to hold them off. Roderick has survived not just because the plot demands it, but also thanks to his ingenuity. Of course, thanks to that, he also knows that he currently isn't the man that lives in Farnace's heart, and he's intent on resolving that issue as gallantly as possible. Taking on an apostle without the proper experience is as gallant as it gets, and more than that, we think Roderick's blade will be needed. He and Daiba are the closest to Rakshas right now, and once Daiba dusts himself off, it'll be crucial to see what he does next. The former Wizard General hasn't exactly been upfront with everyone, despite being aligned with the good guys. When the Kushan were tracking Roderick's ship, he failed to mention that the cargo needed to be recovered was the infamous Black Swordsman. It's nice to see that Guts' legend precedes him these days, but Daiba's silence on that matter, especially when he must have known about Guts' connection with Salat, is irksome to say the least. Then there's the matter of him leaving out the details of his involvement in Ganishka's reign of terror, and the fact that he got the sorcerers of Elfhelm settled in the Kushan capital quick enough, but he didn't do the same for the rest of the foreigners. What this is developing towards is still pretty vague, but regardless of Daiba's long game, we have to admit that helping the Kushan fight Rakshas is in his immediate interest. With Rickert also lurking around the Kurultai chamber, this presents the Apostle with the unique opportunity to get revenge on all the people that blew him up the first time around. Whether he manages to annihilate the council or leave just enough of it to organize a counterattack, Rakshas' invasion will guarantee one thing: Salat's request will be fulfilled. In Chapter 377, Salat made a direct appeal to the new Kushan Emperor for a promotion to the rank of general and command over the Kushan main army. With their manpower and magic, they would present the best possible opposition to the Falcon of Light, and Salat's experience fighting apostles would be invaluable. Had deliberations been allowed to go on uninterrupted, the process of his election would have probably taken too much time, but with Rakshas here and now, he has the opportunity to prove why he's the only man for the job. Salat is intricately aware of all the elements operating on both sides of the fence, and his knowledge and strategies as an assassin will be crucial in the war against Falconia. We're sure that Rickert is already working on the next crazy invention that will blow apostles to Kingdom Come, but we don't think he'll get to test it out on Rakshas this time. It'll come down to Roderick, Salat, and Daiba to ensure that the high command of humanity's resistance isn't wiped out by a single soldier, and something tells us they're just the guys for the job. It's just sad that their biggest magical asset is currently in a coma, but based on a single panel from Chapter 377, that could change soon. The Sleeping Key and the Waking Problem. Will we see Griffith next chapter? The only person that can give the Resistance any updates on the movements of Griffith and his band right now is Shirke. The young witch volunteered to cast her astral body into the World Spiral Tree so she can track down Casca, but this was a dangerous gamble. If the spellcaster isn't careful while traversing the Dragon Path, they're liable to get lost within, and sometimes that's permanent. The fact that Shirke still isn't back in her body is worrisome, but not as much as it should be. That's because we saw her briefly at the beginning of the previous chapter, and we have a feeling that we will see her again real soon in Chapter 376. She stopped Guts from falling into what looked like the Vortex of Souls, helping him regain consciousness and control over himself for the first time since Griffith kidnapped Casca and destroyed Elfhelm. Call us crazy, but it looks like her eyes are more strained than they were in that Chapter 2, which suggests movement, which in turn suggests that she might just be on her way back. Shirke is the missing link when it comes to devising a proper attack plan against Falconia, because she has inadvertently embarked on a scouting mission deep in enemy territory. Her aim was to find Casca, but Casca is in Falconia, and Shirke is a smart enough girl to realize that getting her out of there was going to be a nearly impossible task. Maybe the reason she's still not back is that she's searching for a way to get inside the city undetected, or making deals with nature spirits to bolster her magical loadout. Either way, when she returns, we'll get a full picture of the defenses and weaknesses of the enemy's main base, and that's when the real war planning will begin. The Kushan Empire is determined to not give in to Falconia, but if we're being honest, their only plan right now is to unite against all demons and monsters. We were told the war demons have already attacked the western frontier of the Kushan Empire, so at least for the time being, the good guys will be forced to play defense. The scope of this war will force our heroes to spread their resources all over the globe so as to maximize their prospects of achieving all their objectives. Beating Griffith isn't the end-all be-all. They need to rescue Casca and figure out a way to get all the folks from Elfhelm back so Isidro can finally have a real girlfriend. Jokes aside, given that their priorities will be split between global and personal, a split between the Kushan forces and Guts' core team feels inevitable. The former will hold their ground against the war demons while the latter tries to sneak into Falconia and rescue a few allies while they're at it. The latter plan will need Shirke, seeing as she's the only one who will have visited Griffith's capital and be aware of its current population. But speaking of Falconia, when do you guys think we'll see Griffith next? The Falcon of Light made his last appearance in chapter 372, where he said just 2 words, the East. He then wistfully gazed up at the World Spiral Tree, whose true nature is now known to the Kushan Empire. With Rakshas' arrival at the Kurultai, it isn't unrealistic to think that Griffith could make an appearance for a couple of panels in the next chapter. Considering we still don't know exactly what his plan is, the whole assassination thing is just what makes the most sense to us. It's entirely possible that Rakshas has another mission that's of greater importance to carry out while he's in the Kushan capital, and a flashback scene will help us understand the context behind his arrival a lot better. We'll either see Griffith hand out this mission to Rakshas, or Rakshas will talk about it while he tries to kill everyone gathered, because that's just manga exposition 101. The final page of chapter 377 said that with their exile interrupted, the heroes of our story now stand at the beginning of a tragedy, which to us sounds a lot like incoming main character death. Rakshas is definitely going to take out more than a handful of people before he's even cornered by the Kushan, and there is a chance that he's looking to fulfill his original contract as well. He was sent out to kill Rickard originally, which is now snowballed into the current mess. Maybe Rickard is the main character who will die soon, because ever since he found Guts at sea, he's been rather gloomy and restless. Big Rick thought to himself that Griffith's attack was coming too soon after they rescued Guts, and he's just not being his usual bright self right about now. Rakshas could even somehow find and kill Erica, just to give Rickard his own reasons for revenge, but now we're just speculating. What isn't speculation is the fact that Griffith will have to be brought up sooner rather than later, because the manga is clearly setting Falconia and the Kushan Empire on a collision course. Even if he keeps his initial attacks on the latter completely restricted to war demons, Griffith's going to have a hard time selling a war with another group of humans to his subjects when he has already declared his capital to be humanity's sole safe haven. Maybe we'll see him talking to his counselors in Falconia while his operative in Kushan lands does his own thing. Maybe we'll see him preparing the army for a march they wouldn't willingly commit to otherwise. Maybe we'll see him interact with Casca and finally get a definitive answer on why he kidnapped her and what he intends to do with her. Whatever scenario comes true, all of them have one thing in common, and that's Griffith moving the board around so the pieces no longer fit. He's moved heaven and earth quite literally to finally be in the position he is, and to leave it all on Rakshas is a bit dicey at best. He tends to get sidetracked by less important things like sadistic speeches, so maybe we'll just see Griffith take a peer through space-time and check on how his war demon is performing. Whatever the case, Studio Gaga can't keep him away from the series for too much longer because, as the end draws closer, breaking the perception around him becomes more necessary. Miura-sensei deliberately chose not to show us his perspective on things ever since he became a God Hand member because he wanted to maintain that ambiguity for his story. But all ambiguity is in service of a major final reveal, and we think that moment is now closer than ever. So yeah, we should be seeing Griffith again real soon, because otherwise, keeping track of everything will be rather confusing. But then again, that sounds like just the thing Miura would do, so don't quote us on that at all. But what you can quote us on is this next section, because the Black Swordsman and the Apprentice Witch. Farnace unleashes guts on Rakshas. As soon as she detected a disturbance in the regular flow of Ode, Farnace knew that something was wrong and she rushed off to do something, and she had to make sure she did it quickly. The background in this moment was a Kushan palace, and the panel underneath it showed us Guts' brand of sacrifice just as it started reacting to Rakshas' presence. Considering the rock-bottom mental and emotional state he was in during chapter 373, we would say Guts is in no shape to fight, but then again, our words would be falling on deaf ears. In that same chapter, we also witnessed his Beast of Darkness break out of its cage and promise him the power he needed to stop feeling so powerless in exchange for being given free reign over his future actions. Guts had tried taking the high road and it threw him off a cliff and took his girl while he was doing it. With his mind being a boiling soup of regret and rage, he's liable to crush anything that tries to kill him or has tried to kill him in the past, and an apostle is the perfect target. We get a full shot of his conscious face, sweating and straining under the weight of his restrictions, but his mouth and eye tell a different tale. Guts is clenching his jaw hard enough to break his own teeth, and his one good eye is spiraled out like he just woke up from a nightmare animated by Adult Swim. Berserk only draws eyes like that when a character isn't in their right mind, and judging from Guts' expression, it would be an absolute miracle if he's thinking at all straight right now. His last conscious thought was letting his urge to kill take control of him, and now that he's conscious again, he's being given the opportunity to do just that. We say this because it's clear that Farnace is on her way to free Guts so he can fight Rakshas. What other reason could she have for abandoning her mistress, the person for whom she refused to attend the Kurultai? With most of Kushan authority gathered for the council, this was the best chance for her to free her ally and minimize the political ramifications. Guts putting Rakshas through the shredder will go a long way in giving the Westerners a meaningful voice in Kushan court and council, but to do that, he first has to fight him, and we're not really sure he can do that just yet. The effects of the Berserker armor have already thrown his senses awry, and he doesn't even have his anchor body to keep him in control. This is where we think Farnace could truly shine because she could just offer to replace Shirke. She's done something similar quite recently when she managed to anchor her mistress's astral body in Griffith's presence, which proves that she's more than skilled for the job. Her and Guts riding into the Kurultai chamber and chopping up Rakshas with Dragon Slayer without the latter going berserk is a fairy tale story, but weirder things have happened in this epic. One thing we can guarantee though is that the Guts we will see in the next chapter will not be the Guts we've seen in the last couple hundred chapters or so. He's going to be meaner, more feral, and more fixated on eliminating demon kind because without Casca by his side, he has nothing else to live for. The Black Swordsman versus the Black Rag isn't an exciting pay-per-view main event, but it is intriguing enough to make us buy a ticket and keep our popcorn ready. Whether Guts uses the Berserker armor remains to be seen because the Kushan have confiscated and hidden all of his weapons, including the Bechi, but you can bet your house that he's gonna fight. That's how Guts clears his head, and trust us when we say he's gonna need the Deep Clean Deluxe package. Marvelous verdict! Unfortunately, that's it for this video. Let us know what you thought about our predictions and give us some of your own down in the comments section below. We are absolutely going to be reading them, and who knows, maybe we'll make a video about one of them if it's really, really good. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Berserk content, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Until next time, this is Wizard Wheezy signing off for now, but don't forget, keep on struggling, strugglers.